Welcome. We are delighted to have Miguel Harth-Bedoya with us. Miguel was last in Phoenix about 20 years ago conducting our orchestra. We're so delighted that you're back.
Well, happy to be here with wonderful musicians.
It's marvelous to have you back, and we have a terrific program this week. And before we talk about the program, I know our audience would really be interested to learn more about you. You're originally from Peru, graduated from both the Curtis Institute of Music and the Juilliard School. An amazing journey. Really interested to hear a little bit more about what drew you to music and what led you to become a conductor.
Well, I grew up in a musical family, single mom, who to this day, I mean, she's like the queen of the weddings, because she arranges music for weddings and parties and events, from contracting or playing the keyboard. So I was always helping my mom. And I learned to play piano and violin domestically rather than for a performance purpose. And my sister the guitar, and somebody played music always this is back in the 70s. You made music yourself. But one time I got a job in the theater in Lima, old theater from the 1800s, as backstage crew for a short opera season, about 3 months, 4 months a year. And I was in my junior high school year. And then I heard this music and I was marveled by the world of opera without knowing what it was. But what fascinated me was all the components, the elements. There's an orchestra, there's a conductor, there are singers, there's prompter, costume, storyline, languages, and you name it. Because of my instrument learning, I could read music. So I was the only stage crew that could read music. So the stage director noticed this, and I was sort of promoted to do various things, like to be the prompter, to be the light cueing person, curtain, chorus, and then conduct backstage. Anything that they needed music, I started doing. And that was it. That was the defining moment. This is a world that I would love to do, and my passion has guided me through that. And this is facing the challenge that Peru didn't have a school of music to learn conducting. So to this time, I say to everybody, if your passion really points in some direction, even unknown, go for it, because you can't replace that feeling. And that's what happened. I packed up 2 suitcases, and when I was 18, left my country.
That's just amazing. So you were last here 20 years ago, and we have some members of the Phoenix Symphony who've been in the orchestra for decades. So some members of the orchestra have played with you on the podium before, but for many, this is their first introduction for the first time. Could you talk a little bit about what's it like to work with an orchestra for the first time, or work with a group of musicians for the first time? How does that happen?
It's really like meeting a person for the first time. We all are meeting for a particular reason, which is music, like a piece of music or pieces of music. There's no other reason why we do this, really. It's not about me. It's not about any player. It's not about really even the structure of an institution. It's about the music, right? Because that's what we do as musicians, is we produce music to share with people that come and hear us. And if that's understood, then everybody's excited to do that. Now, when there's this first encounter, or almost first encounter, is how can I be of service both to the musicians and to the music right away? And that's how I've led my musical life, rather than it's about me and everybody has to adapt to what I need, but it's not really that way. And those were teachings that I've learned, from my teacher, Otto Werner Müller, and Seiji Ozawa, and others. And if you are not to do that, then we shouldn't be doing this. And then there's more than the community, the immediate community, which is the musicians. Then there's the other community, which is you, your staff, people that support the music making. And then there's the other community, which are the patrons, people that listen to us. So if we always maintain those things constantly in our daily work, then working with musicians has a very deep meaning beyond the notes.
Yes. So we're having this conversation a few days before the first performance. Some people may not realize that all of the performances are taking place just in the days before our concerts, which will be from January 31st, I think February 1st and 2nd. But how does it come together so quickly? How is that even possible?
Well, things can come only quickly if everybody has done the best preparation possible. And I don't believe in perfection, because if we become perfect musicians, then that's it, we're done.
Yeah.
But I use the term, we're best prepared at any given moment. And today, when I met the symphony, it was very clear that everybody had brought in their best preparation. And I believe one of the pieces was completely unknown to them, which is the piece by Clarice, Assad.
Yes.
And you can only be best based on what you know, what you have done before. But my job is to take that as working tools or material, and I just, until they don't play anything for me, I really can't do much, you know, and it's the other way around as well. And it happens, you know, within 48 hours, the whole concert will be put together easily.
It's just amazing. So in addition to the Assad, that wonderful program, Valse by Ravel, and Daphnis and Chloe. I was a professional oboist for many years, and I would love to play Daphnis and Chloe. So,
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that, and then we have the great Richard Lin with us playing Lalo.
Well, Ravel is a wonderful composer that we conductors wish he had given us more orchestral music, but he didn't. You know, he gave us, he's like a boutique type composer. His output was very elegant, very specific, and just enough to want you to do more or want you to come back to him. In Daphnis and Chloe, we're taking the traditional suite from the second part of the ballet, and we're taking it out of context. So there's no real storytelling necessarily for the concert goer. But however, the emotions of the music will tell the story however anybody wants to listen to. Because it's a story about love, basically. And nothing beats that story. You know, and nobody dies in this particular story. You know, like Romeo and Juliet and other ones. And then with La Valse, you have a pure, what's absolute music. It's music for music. It's a waltz. It's a tribute to a Viennese waltz. And let's not forget that Ravel, even though he was a French citizen, he was half Basque, which is now currently half Spanish, you know, from mother lineage. So you have this composer that has already such a personal background of music making, and he also lived fairly close to the Basque country, and trying to pay tribute to one of the most different, you know, dances, the Viennese waltz, and he does it in such a marvelous way. The only thing that connects the two pieces are that they're danceable. They're meant to be danced, right? Not literally, but to an extent. So if we can convey that feeling to the audience that, you know, a small waltz, chap, 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 can turn into apotheosis, and then followed by any type of storytelling dance, like, I think the two pieces lined up very well next to each other.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's going to be such a great program. And we'll also, the Lalo, Symphonie Espagnole.
Yes.
And a mystery piece, too.
Oh, yes.
Now, we're going to keep the mystery piece a mystery until Friday.
Okay.
But,
that sounds good.
And so talk a little bit, if you would, about the Lalo.
Well, the Symphonie Espagnole, first the title, you know, it's a bit deceiving for people that may not realize that it's basically a violin concerto. Now, for a long time in the 1800s, Spanish composers did not compose Spanish orchestral music. And the best Spanish composers were French or Russian, some Germans too, that wrote, I mean, the best and most famous Spanish opera is Carmen by Bizet. I mean, Spain had wonderful zarzuelas, don't take me wrong, but the genres didn't quite line up in parallel. So this is why you have a French composer like Edouard Lalo being inspired by various styles of the music of Spain and translated this into a work for violin and orchestra, hence the term Symphonie, Espagnole. But also because it has 4 movements, and a concerto normally has 3, and a symphony would have 4. So there are all these kinds of things that we don't really need to talk more about, that it's a violin concerto inspired by Spanish flavors by a French composer in 4 movements. That would be the short take.
And then we asked you to think about a mystery piece, something short, but that had some connection to the rest of the theme of the program. So without giving away the secret, any hints about what we might be hearing in that mystery piece?
Yes, it's a predecessor of Ravel, connected to another composer of similar citizenship that have concocted this mystery piece.
Okay. Very, very good. So if someone wants to find out that mystery piece is, the way to do that, of course, is to come
to the performances.
And enjoy these great performances.
Yes.
It's going to be Friday, the 31st of January, and then the 1st and 2nd of February, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon. And there's going to be wonderful concerts. We're so delighted that you're here for your second time at the Phoenix Symphony, and so looking forward.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for the conversation.
Thank you, Peter.